Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile video. In this one, I will be talking about the Dark Pact character that I've played on League Start and done some testing with a recoup defensive mechanic. I am currently playing the low-budget version of the Dark Pact build, and I wanted to go through a couple of changes and a couple of details to ease up the leveling process of this character and basically take it from the start to finish. We're going to have some gameplay footage being shown so you guys can see the build in action in the map stage in a low budget state. So the first few things that I wanted to talk about just theoretically is the fact that I do recommend running a faster casting setup with your skeletons, which should have faster casting and skeletons and minion life. Those are the three main links. And once you get to level 31, you can do the Ciosa quest in Library Act 3. And then that quest, just finishing that quest, gives you Feeding Frenzy, and that will be the 4 link for your skeletons later. And during this time, if you want to level and using Dark Pact immediately when you're able to, which is level 28, it's going to be very clunky, it's going to be very slow. I personally love doing that, and the reason I do is because I love playing with the ability I'm going to use at the end game. Now, in this case, if you do decide to do so, I would recommend running with an Arcane Surge inside the links to your actual Dark Pact. It will help sustain the mana a bit, as you're gonna want to run a proper mana flask later to sustain the mana cost, which is rather crucial. That's where your alterations should be saved to be used on proper mana flask. You might even want to consider using 2 mana flasks to make use for this. If you're more experienced with the build, you can use 1, but 2 is the recommended strategy.
Holy shit! Wow!
Thank you, Simon, for the gift of sub, man. Appreciate it. Another thing you can do is using Culling Strike as a link for the skeletons, but I think the faster casting is smoother. It is rather crucial that you run a setup with Arcane Surge later. So when you switch out of Arcane Surge from the Dark Pact, I would recommend smacking it in. And having that in the skeletons is actually not a bad thing. Level 4 should be enough to cover the mana cost. And what I did later was that as I'll show you the tree progression in a bit, I actually went low life as soon as I could, which I did around level 24-30. And later I enabled Cemetery as a damage aura on top of the Petrified Blood. This allowed me to get a lot of extra damage, which was rather useful early on. And later on, lacking defense was a big problem. And that's when I removed the Cemetery, but I only did so and to switch it for a Discipline aura when I was ready for Energy Shield, Ghost Reaver, Leeching strat. If you have like a Tabula or you farm a Tabula up early on when you get to the end of the campaign, you could actually slot in a Life Leech support and just not... You could slot in a Life Leech support instead of going Ghost Reaver to keep up with a hybrid approach. But honestly, at that point, you should be looking into getting low budget ES gear, which I'll show you here in a bit as well. So I'm going to show you the gear for the ES strategy, and then I'll talk about the progression of my skill tree. So basically, the gear I'm using is a rather cheap plus level of all spell skills or minion skills, with a shit stained cast speed, a tiny bit of spell damage, and I got a trigger craft for the offering. The trigger craft is only really needed when you get bone offering usage with the Mistress of Sacrifice Ascendancy, which is only something you'll do at the last Ascendancy node. So that comes later. This is a large portion of your defense when you get to the mapping stage. My shield, I have a critical strike chance for spells with a flat energy shield and some life and some resistances. Very cheap to get a hold of, a couple of chaos. Amulet just stats life, energy shield. My helmet, I purchased a +2 minion helmet with life and energy shield. I went with life, energy shield and resistance on the ring, but I can't craft the energy shield just yet. Thank you, Not Serious, for the prime sub. So I just have life and resistances. Same thing with the other ring, just life, resistances. Any stats I might need, just pick it up. I went with a strength belt to help out with the attributes, life and resistances again. Gloves, same thing there, life resistances. Make sure you buy the bases with energy shield. This is a hybrid. The reason I took a hybrid here is because we need a lot of red sockets somewhere. So I took a hybrid here just to make sure I got some red sockets.
Holy shit! Wow!
Thanks so much for another gift there, dude. Boots, generic movement speed, life on an energy shield base. And that kind of covers the gear. Obviously, we're going to go for an enduring mana flask roll. And that's about it. The chest piece, early on, I had a random 5-link chest. I later made sure to get a Vol Regalia or a high energy shield based energy shield piece with a prefix slot open with a decent life roll and an energy shield roll, so I can bench in the max life as extra energy shield and then try to get that 6-link, which will be your next big upgrade. This is the big piece that really kickstarts your Ghost Reaver strategy. The progression when leveling, I would start with these spell damage nodes here, all of them. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes. and then go through the life node into Deep Wisdom, and go through Lord of the
Holy
Dead,
shit! Wow.
and then through Cruel Preparation, at which point I will pick up Life Mastery plus 50 life. And after this, I actually went immediately into Infused Flesh, and that's where I pick up the 10% life recover node as well from the Life Mastery. And then once I realized how idiotically strong this modifier is, especially early on, I just went straight out to the right side and picked up the Vampirism. Once I got to this point, I went to the left side to pick up the Death Attunement and the Heart of Darkness. I didn't take the other one because the Corruption is only when you use a Wither Totem for single targets. So I just went for the Heart of Darkness, pick up some minion lives. I went in here for Indomitable Army for minion life to scale up the Minion Defense Mastery so I can get more minion life, which is all you need for the Skeletons to do more damage. Normally, if you want to level fast, use Stormblast Mines and Orb of Storms and keep these nodes. What I did was that once I was ready to pick up Vampirism, I respec'd out of these nodes by speccing these 3 nodes here. And then I took these away and put them into Vampirism, as well as Pain Attunement, when I enabled Petrified Blood. After this, cast speed is kind of crucial, so I went for these nodes. I did not take the Mastery, only the cast speed nodes, and then I just went ham on picking up by skipping these nodes and skipping the crit nodes to go for the life and go to Spiritual Aid. Once you have Spiritual Aid and you're running supports on like your Dark Pact, like the initial supports would be like Dark Pact, Arcane Surge, whatever
Holy
damage you can
shit.
get.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. And then once you get level 31, you can get some other support gems like Chain, and you're at level 38, you get Spell Echo, it makes the build better. But once you get Spiritual Aid and your first 2 Ascendancy nodes, which goes into mindless aggression into unnatural strength, that's when Dark Pact really starts to kick off and starts to be a lot smoother to level with. So normally you'd use Stormblast Mines, Orb of Storms, level with that to that point, and then switch over. Now at this point, you are essentially reserving half your HP. We're not reserving it, but you're locking it through Petrified Blood, so you can be Pain Attunement. You still have a life flask to cover when you drop too low. And then I picked up the Physique and Alacrity for plus 30 stats, till my gear will cover that. Until my gear cover it, I'll keep these. And once my gear will do, then I'll be removing these 2 points. After this, it's just all about picking up the remaining nodes. I went for the life nodes because I felt a bit squishy, and I went all the way through here, and then I started getting the crit nodes. After getting the crit nodes, that's when you're able to start changing your support gems. For example, getting an increased critical strikes. Don't bother that until you have actual investment into crit nodes. Before that, I went into the ES Leech without Ghost Reaver, and I only went Ghost Reaver when I had about 1500 energy shield. It was a little bit okay on like a lower white tier, but the Scourge mechanic felt a bit squishy, and the higher tiers was a little bit harder to tackle. And I also went in for the ES nodes to make 30% of the chaos damage to the Mastery, not bypass energy shield. Once I equipped a proper chest piece, even if it's a 5-link, doesn't matter. My energy shield went up to 3.1k when I switched out the Zealotry to a Discipline, and I picked up the Ghost Reaver. This allowed my energy shield to have an insane amount of leeching going on, and the build just completely changed pace. It went from having some troubles in the harder encounters of surviving to just face tanking pretty much everything, including almost 200 stacks of the Scourge damage increase on you. It didn't have any problem surviving it. This is obviously still on lower tier maps. I'll make a follow-up video on this for the yellow and red tier maps when I get there. But so far it's been working out very well. I'm going to start investing some of my currency into some new gear. I haven't gotten a Blessed Rebirth. I just got one, and I'll be enabling this. I don't think that this is really that necessary anymore as it used to be. It kind of felt pretty good not running it as a mandatory one. We still want to use it because it gives so much extra minion life. But we're going to go in for some much better gear. And much better gear, I'm talking about life gear with proper energy shield. Energy shield is the main focus here, but you want with a life roll on it as well. With resistances, the problem with ES bases is obviously that you're going to use quite a lot of red sockets, and your sockets with your skeletons is kind of gated in what you need there. So you only have 2 other slots that is really necessary that you're going to put some red sockets in. So we're going to balance that. Another thing I want to mention when it comes to the progression of this character with the Scourge League is that you are kind of getting into a position where you are promoted to use corrupted items. I encountered big problems with having corrupted items by not being able to benchcraft on them, by not having easy access to changing the colors on them, and that made me able. That forced me into a position where I was lacking crucial sockets to fix certain problems I encountered with. So I would actually, honestly, would say that you shouldn't try to get the Scourge items that much unless you have a slot that is really good with the proper sockets and colors, and then Scourge it. But you kind of want to use that before you Scourge
Holy
it.
shit! Wow.
Other than that, once you're ready for it and you have the sockets for it, I'd really recommend getting an Arrogant setup for Vitality. This helps so much with sustaining the life pool when you don't have any leech to it because you're running with Ghost Reaver. And I would also recommend making sure that you have a Stone Golem to further give you life regeneration, because we don't have any sources on our life pool other than Recoup and actual life regeneration. But that kind of sums up the day 1 or day 2 progression of what I've done with this character, the gear I'm running with, and my next step of upgrading will be just getting better defenses across the board and making some currency. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, a little update of what's going on. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe.
Welcome to the crew life.
Keep rocking.